It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the coach. It's been a while, hasn't it? And here's why. Well, there was that whole Shanghai lockdown thing, and then another lockdown, and one thing led to another. But the lockdown, at least for now, is over. Freedom! A lot of you had a lot of questions about the lockdown, and not great times. Not great times, but I'll tell you what. One organization in particular helped me through quite a bit. That was my sponsor, xmartial.com. Yeah, those guys helped me out big time during the lockdown. I'll tell you why, because no matter what, they support this channel every month, and they're much appreciated. Please go check them out, xmartial.com. And I even have a discount code, Ramsey10, 10% off everything on their website. Literally everything. You'll get a 10% discount. Again, that code is Ramsey10. Tell them Ramsey sent you. You can get sweet t-shirts like this with Genki Sudo's slogan that he always carried into the cage or into the ring after his fights, reminding us that in spite of the fact that we're fighting, not as enemies, but as martial artists competing against each other, we are all one. Regardless of what country you come from, what color your skin is, what language you speak, we're all one. We're all one human species. So let's do what we can to help each other through this thing. So again, big shout out to xmartial.com. On to the questions. On to the questions. So we have a question from our friend Jordan, who, the artist formerly known as Red Chucks, changed his channel name to Swolverine. Awesome dude. Love this guy. But he sent me a question on Instagram, and he said, if you could fight any YouTuber, who would it be and why? And at first I was thinking martial arts YouTuber. And so I was running through the list of guys who are popular martial arts YouTubers, and a lot of the popular ones wouldn't be very good fights because there would be huge size differences or skill differences. And a lot of the good fighters tend to be the less popular martial arts YouTubers. And some of these guys, oh man, some of these guys are good. Like take for example, what's his name, Jordan from Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu. He doesn't show it that much on his channel, but he's an excellent MMA fighter. Like his channel is all about teaching Jiu-Jitsu, but the dude is an incredible MMA fighter. If you watch him spar with Jeff Chan, for example, he's got a super high fight IQ. I mean, for a learning experience, I think it would be amazing to compete with that guy. That would just be an amazing learning experience. I'd probably sustain a lot of damage and get embarrassed a little bit in that fight. But that's the kind of fight I want to gravitate toward, to be honest. The type that pushes me to the next level, or gets me thinking, how do I solve this problem? How do I solve the impossible problem? But then I realized Jordan didn't actually say which martial arts YouTuber. He just said, if you could fight any YouTuber. Then I started thinking, oh, this changes things. Then, instead of thinking about personal development, I would think about personal monetary gains. Let's be an opportunistic person here, because there are a lot of popular YouTubers out there, and if they were to sign up for a fight with an MMA coach, a former professional MMA fighter, it would blow up the internet. It would get billions of views, millions and millions of views, and make a whole bunch of cash. So I started thinking, who would be a good candidate for that? Jake Paul, maybe? Then again, Jake Paul fighting another guy isn't really that much news right now. I mean, it would draw some views. I guess he's got enough fans to make that viable, but we can go bigger. We can make more. Master Wong, we'd run into those same problems as before. A lot of the fans would be like, yes, this is the fight we want to see, until they actually saw it and saw a dude like Master Wong being mollywomped by a guy literally twice his size. You don't see it on a 2-inch telephone screen, but literally twice his size, man. And they'd be like, oh man, a pro fighter twice the size beating up on an old man like Master Wong. Boo to you, Ramsey, shame on you. So I started thinking, okay, if I'm going to be publicly shamed for beating someone up, it's got to be someone even bigger than Master Wong. and someone that draws even more headlines. So I start thinking, and then I notice my kids are in the corner watching some YouTube videos on an iPad, and they're watching a video from Dhar Mann. I don't know if you know who Dhar Mann is. He makes these videos. He has a very popular channel, something like 17 million subscribers, huge, and his videos have millions of views each. Very popular channel. But he makes these little morality plays. You know, these little videos, dramatizations with messages like racism is bad, don't be bigoted and hate other people because they're different than you and stuff like that. Just nice little warm fuzzy messages. And I thought, man, what if I fought Dhar Mann? Oh yeah, okay, yes, this is the fight. Why Dhar Mann? Does he even know how to fight? I have no idea, who cares? Here's why this fight makes millions of dollars. Because Dhar Mann is this beloved character on YouTube, known for his super nice persona. He's the ultimate face, whether he knows how to fight or not. He's the ultimate face. In a fight, people would start questioning, well, hold the phone. Why is Dhar Mann fighting? Why is he going to fight this guy, this former pro fighter, this MMA coach? What's going on here? And they'd probably start looking into things. Suddenly, controversy would start to spring up. I mean, Dhar Mann, all respect to this guy. He knows how to hustle. He knows how to work. He had a lot of failed businesses as a younger man, but he also ran into some controversies, and some of those controversies might resurface, and then oh man, this would just blow up on the internet. People would be like, maybe Dhar Mann actually does deserve to be beaten up by a pro fighter because of his shady past. And then, I don't know. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. So, who knows? Maybe Dhar Mann is actually secretly like a ninja master. That would also be amazing. People would be amazed and be like, Dhar Mann can fight. Holy crap, who knew? Anyway, everything about that fight, regardless of the outcome, would be amazing, especially the number of dollars coming in. So, there's my answer. Next question. Our next question comes from Jason Martel, who says, I was curious if fighters grease themselves up prior to fights to make it more difficult for their opponents to grab onto them. Well, it depends on which rule set we're talking about. Under MMA, no, that is a foul. You may not put any substance on your body besides sweat or water prior to the fight. Any grease, Vaseline, lard, whatever, illegal. No Thai ointment, no stinging ointments, no icy hot, man. I fought this dude back in the day, a guy named Dustin. He went by the nickname Icy Hot, and there's a funny story behind that. His very first pro fight, he didn't know the rules, and he lathered himself up with Icy Hot. You might know it as Ben Gay. It's kind of like Thai ointment, but it's an American brand. It gives you the sensation of heat and cold at the same time, and if you get it in your eyes or on any mucous membrane, boy, is that gonna sting. Anyway, he slathered himself up with Icy Hot. He goes out there to fight. The referee takes a whiff. He's like, nope, you shower that off before you get in the cage. Ever since then, he was known as Icy Hot. That was his fighter nickname. Oh, man. So, shout out to Dustin if you're watching. Love you, man. Those were different times. So, in MMA, you may not apply any ointment at all to your skin. No grease, no ointment, etc. This is also true of, well, let's see here. In Muay Thai and also Sanda, the fighters will grease themselves up. They'll usually use lard or some other type of grease, but lard, that's what I used when I did Sanda fights. It's just what the coaches brought and slathered all over the fighters to make them greasy. It makes you harder to hold on to. And holding on to someone in Muay Thai and Sanda is both very important. The clinch game is huge in Muay Thai, and grabbing kicks and getting underhooks and essentially wrestling, because that's basically half the sport of Sanda, is super important. And if it's not illegal to grease yourself up, why wouldn't you? And of course, in the sport of Turkish oil wrestling, yeah, you pour oil over yourself before the fight. But in MMA, mixed martial arts, no, you may not put any of that on your body. Before you go into the cage, an official will put some Vaseline over the eyes, nose, cheekbone areas, and that's it. That's it. Nothing else. Next question. Our next question comes from Galileo Galilei. Oh, the famous astronomer. He's back from the dead. Anyway, he wants to know, hi Ramsey, I'm going to go a little bit off topic with this question. I am noticing that YouTube is becoming more and more top-down. You have at the top a group of creators that decide which is the right opinion on a given topic, and every smaller creator parrots it out of fear of repercussion. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, that sounds very familiar, actually. It's what happened when you talked about the creator clash. You are the only channel that gave an intelligent critique of a very irresponsibly organized event. Yeah, everybody else was just parroting the same message. Oh, it was wonderful. Blah, bravo, bravo. And I basically said, no, here's everything wrong with it. And it got a lot of backlash. A lot of people didn't like that video. They didn't like to hear the truth. The wicked find the truth to be hard. Let me say that again. The wicked find the truth to be hard. But on with Galileo's question. Recently, I started commenting on videos. Most of the time, I comment when I want to critique a video. And so YouTube deletes something like 50% of my comments. Yeah, they do. The YouTube robots delete about 50% of all comments. This is true. Almost every day, I get a comment saying, Ramsey, why did you delete my comment? No, I do not delete any comments. Unless they are just blatantly, horribly offensive and filled with profanity and stuff like that. My kids watch my videos. My kids, my children, read the comments. So guys, leave the foul language off the channel. I don't want to hear it. But I don't delete comments because of the message that you're sharing. If you're sharing a message I don't agree with, I'll disagree with you in the comments. I'm not going to delete that. Anyway, just so he's noticing that about 50% of his comments get deleted. I think these policies are creating an echo chamber, and I am a little bit worried for the new generation that forms both their beliefs and morals on what they see on this site. Can I ask your opinion on this subject? Have a nice day. Bye from Italy. All right, Galileo from Italy. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's talk about YouTube politics. YouTube at this point is basically run by artificial intelligence. Google is run by artificial intelligence, and so many YouTubers are struggling to try to understand how this AI works, trying to appease the beast and figure out what is the number of the beast that the beast wants to hear so that we can, if we give it the right praise and the right keywords or whatever, then it's going to bless us with views and money and capital and so on. Yes, did I just compare the YouTube algorithm, the Google algorithm, the AI, with the biblical beast from the Revelation of John? Yeah, I kind of did. I think that's a fascinating verse of Scripture that is multifaceted and can apply to multiple things across time. Pretty much anything that takes our attention away from God and puts it onto worshiping idols, onto idolatry. And I have seen people literally praying to the algorithm, literally praising the algorithm as if it were a deity. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, guys, and that's a stupid game to be playing. But yeah, I was kind of curious. After I read this message, I went out, I noticed that viewership on my channel has been super low this last month compared to other months. Now, I put out fewer videos than usual because of the Shanghai lockdown, but I've done this before, and I've actually had more views than I've ever had on my channel, and I presumed it was because my content was a little bit more scarce. I wasn't putting out 2 videos every day, and therefore maybe it created an increased demand, you know, the economic law of supply and demand. Therefore, people were watching more. Did the same thing this last month. It didn't work out so well. So I thought, well, how are other YouTubers faring? So I looked at some other videos from other YouTubers that I follow, some very popular ones, and I noticed their views were way down as well. Like, just in the toilet. And I was thinking, is this happening across the board? Or is it just the independent YouTubers? So I took a look at some corporate-run sites such as Disney, on their most recent Mickey Mouse cartoon, it had millions and like 200 million views, something like that. And this is a channel, I think they have like 60 million subscribers on their Mickey Mouse cartoon channel. Now, it's no secret that Disney pays to get their content promoted, and smaller content creators, individuals rather than large corporations, can't afford to do that. But it is also interesting that individuals with comparable numbers of subscribers, as say a big corporation like Disney, don't get the same number of views. Maybe people just really love Mickey Mouse. Nah, I don't think it's just that. I think it's that they have billions of dollars of disposable income that they can put toward ensuring their success on YouTube. No secret there. So a lot of individual content creators, are definitely suffering. A comment that I get a lot on YouTube is, "Hey Ramsey, I thought you weren't making videos anymore because I haven't seen you in the YouTube recommendations for years. And I just looked up your channel and here you are, you've been making videos every day. What's up with that?" Well, guess what? A huge number of the YouTubers you love and subscribe to will never show up in your YouTube recommendations. They will never show up. If you find me in a YouTube recommendation, it's usually one of my older videos from like 7 years ago. I don't know why they want to push the old stuff and not the new stuff, but they do. When I look in YouTube recommendations, it generally pushes the same kind of content from the same 3 or 4 content creators and literally no one else. The other week, my wife and I watched Stranger Things Season 4. We enjoyed the series, so we decided let's see what's up with Season 4. And afterwards, we watched a video, some video review of people just talking about, expressing their feelings, just to see what other people had to say about the show. And since then, every other recommendation on my recommendations page is for a Stranger Things video. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to watch a video talking about it so I could spend maybe 10 minutes just, processing the show and seeing what other people thought. I don't want to spend the rest of my life on that topic. Thank you very much, YouTube robots. But no, thank you. It's kind of shocking how this algorithm works, but it is what it is. So if you want a better chance at seeing what you specifically want to see, just click on your own subscription tab. I know it's so much work to go pink and put your finger on the little tab that says subscriptions in order to see what you intend to see, but that's a whole thing. Now, this is not even addressing Galileo's question, but I notice with almost every major subject, let's take weightlifting, for example, strength training. If you look up strength training on YouTube, you're going to find, a whole bunch of people. There are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of content creators in that subject, but you will find most of your recommendations will be for about 5 or 6 different channels. You'll find some really great guys, like, say, Zach Tellender, awesome dude. Love that guy. Who else? Blanking on the names. Alan Thrall just shaved off his beard and his hair and donated it to charity. Great guy, man. Awesome content. You'll find people like Meg Squats. Meg makes videos about squats and other strength-related things. And, these are great channels. I enjoy the content these folks put out. But it's going to be really, really hard to find a link or a recommendation to a smaller channel on the subject of strength training. Similarly, if you look up martial arts, self-defense, something like that, you will find links to channels like, say, Icy Mike or Sensei Seth or, guys like that. And nothing wrong with that. They make some quality content. Bravo for those guys. But there's a channel. I've been looking for it. I actually subscribed to them. I don't remember the dude's name. I subscribed to him several years ago, and he made really great content. The guy only had like 200 subscribers. But he made really high production value videos. Great thumbnails. He was doing all the right things, checking all the boxes to get views on YouTube, but he just wasn't. He was a traditional martial artist, and as far as traditional martial arts went, the guy made amazing content. He showed the forms, showed some applications, I did some great Q&As and very entertaining videos. And I don't know if he deleted his channel or if the YouTube robots unsubscribed me from his channel, because this happens. This happens to me all the time. I get automatically unsubscribed from the channels that I follow. All the time. It sucks. People always write to me and say, Ramsey, I don't know what happened. I was just unsubscribed from your channel. I don't know what happened. It's the YouTube AI. I don't know why, but they will automatically unsubscribe you. They sent me an email to this effect saying, we are cleaning up YouTube and we're cleaning up all the dead subscribers. And I don't know who they deemed dead subscribers, but yeah, I guess if you haven't watched a video from a content creator in an acceptable amount of time, they will automatically unsubscribe you from that channel. Yeah. But I still haven't answered Galileo's question. Dude, I keep getting distracted. But the question was, you got basically this clique of popular YouTubers that form the right opinion, in quotes. Let's say, for example, let's go back to the Creator Clash. The right opinion was, the Creator Clash was great, yay, sing praises. And my opinion was, no, there were problems. It was problematic, and here were the problems. And the fans didn't like to hear what the problems were, and so they said, boo, boo, Ramsey, you suck for having a dissenting opinion from the majority. Boo. And yeah, I remember I watched part of a video from a certain Spam the Slenderman. Oh, I mean, Dan the Wolfman. I Googled my own name. I do this from time to time just to see what the internet's saying about me, and sometimes the results are quite entertaining. And on this particular occasion, I Googled my own name and I got, oh man, links to like 100 different videos by this fellow named Dan. And he made like 100 videos, like 100 hours of content just complaining and griping about how much all the martial arts YouTubers, especially me, suck. He sucks. These guys are liars and frauds and they suck and all this. And I only watched a small portion of it because, man, I don't have time to watch 100 hours of content about how much I suck, man. I got things to do. I got a job, for example. Got to go teach fighters and spar and train and stuff like that. But anyway, so Dan is saying all the popular martial arts YouTubers, Rokas from Martial Arts Journey, Ramsey Dewey, Icy Mike, Sensei Seth, Jesse Enkamp, all these guys, they're in a cabal together. It's like this secret combination that they have formed in order to support each other's channels and get popular. And I'm like, what? What? Okay, I know some of these guys. I've done some video collaborations with some of these guys, like Jesse Enkamp and Rokas and Sensei Seth. I haven't done a video collab with Icy Mike. I've never actually spoken to the guy in person, but I know these guys. But there's no secret cabal. There's no like video production company. It's that's a work of fiction. Anyway, I think it's fascinating how people jump to these conclusions and say them as if they were facts. But again, if you look up martial arts, you'll probably find martial artists like those guys or even myself. And a lot of times, some of these guys will collab. They'll collaborate together and say, let's all make a video on this particular topic. And then you'll get guys like me who will say, actually, no. But, man, I gotta speak my truth. I just gotta speak my truth. But, yeah, going back to Galileo's question, I'm gonna read the last part again. I think it's important. I think these policies are creating an echo chamber, and I'm a little bit worried for the new generation that forms both their beliefs and morals on what they see on this site. Yeah, that's an example of extreme postmodernism. Postmodernism, that word is used a lot of different ways, but essentially it is this idea that media, art, videos, movies, pop culture, etc., becomes more real than reality itself. That becomes the new meta-reality, if you will. And I'm concerned about that. I see this in my own kids sometimes. I limit the amount of time that they can view YouTube, but they still look at YouTube. They like to watch, their favorite kids YouTube channels that make fun, entertaining, educational content, etc. But I notice sometimes they can conflate what they're seeing on a screen with reality. If you have very limited experience living in your own body, existing out there in the world, interacting with stuff with your hands, it becomes extremely easy, whether you are a small child or a grown man, to confuse what you see on a screen with reality. How many times have I heard in the comments somebody parroting some socio-political message they heard on a screen at me? For example, I start out most of my videos saying, hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China, because that's where I live. I live in Shanghai, in the People's Republic of China. And almost every day, I get about half a dozen, at least, about half a dozen people shouting angry political diatribes at me. You live in China, well, what do you think about this political policy and this political policy and this thing I heard on the news and this talking point, this political talking point? Arr! And I think you guys watch too much TV or YouTube, or you got your face stuck in a screen. That's what I think. And I think you are parroting what the man on the screen said to you. And here's another man on a screen saying something else to you, which is get unstuck from that screen. So I talked a bit about people becoming, I guess, less enchanted with some popular YouTubers and my channel getting fewer views. And my hope is it's getting fewer views because my viewers are getting out there and training, but honestly it's like less than 1% of my actual subscribers who are watching my videos right now. Less than 1% of my actual subscribers watching my videos. If so, that's an awful lot of people getting out there and training. So let's hope. Let's hope. But yeah, if you're getting your morals and your beliefs from somebody talking to you, whether it's on a screen or in a church or reading it in a book, without putting that to the test. And this is something I get asked a lot by my viewers. Ramsey, you're a religious person. How can you reconcile being religious with this idea that you're always preaching to us about getting out there and testing your techniques? Well, first of all, religion and martial arts are not the same thing. But in a way they kind of are. You can test it. You can put your faith to the test. Did you know that? What is faith? The belief in things unseen? The evidence of things unseen, not the belief in things unseen, the evidence of things unseen. Faith is not a blind belief, faith is action. Faith is taking the initiative to put what you believe or what you consider believing to the test before you swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. So, yeah, man. Here's a question for you about what you believe. We're going to depart from Galileo's question a little bit, but I think it's an important question to ask yourself. Is what you believe, what you say you believe, for example, you might say, I believe in this and this and this, or I'm a Christian and I believe in Jesus, or I'm a Muslim and I believe in the Prophet Muhammad, etc. Okay? Is that what you want to believe? Is what you believe what you want to believe? Or is what you want something different than your belief system? Is what you really believe in your heart of hearts different than what you profess to believe with your mouth? Think about that. And if so, why? Why? Let's try to reconcile those two things. Let's try to be a complete person Jesus taught something interesting. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Translated from a Greek word which I think is probably more adequately translated as complete. Be complete, even as God is complete. But before that, there's this whole diatribe. Not so much a diatribe, examples of how God is kind of, well, he's impartial. He doesn't discern before blessing you with rain on your crops, whether you are good or evil. He sends the rain to all of his children. And before that, Jesus says, look, it's not enough just to be nice to people who are nice to you. And just say hi to your brethren who love you. Because even jerks do that. Be better than that. Love those that hate you. Bless those that despitefully use you and curse you. Not a popular message, but a powerful one. A very powerful one. And this is the type of message that forces us to think outside the box. Because the box is, be nice to those who are nice to you. The box is this false teaching, be nice to other people and they'll be nice to you. That's not true all the time. You can be the nicest guy in the world to a psychopath, and he's probably still going to be a psychopath to you. But consider it. What happens to you, not to them, but what happens to you as a person, as a human being, when you behave in a positive way, an uplifting way to other people regardless of how they treat you? You change. And when you change, the world around you changes, even if ever so slight. The other people may never change their minds. They may never change their behavior, but you change. And when you change the world. Why? What does world mean? It comes from the Old English, ver olt, meaning man age, or man time. The time of man, the age of man. That's what world literally means. If you change yourself because you are man, even if you're a woman, that's just an archaic way of saying human being, man, you change the world. You change what you do with your time on this planet. You change the world, my friends. Long tangent, but it is what it is. Next question. Our next question comes from our friend PWN Sensei, who says, Ramsey, how do you have the patience to repeat the same thing over and over again to your trainees and customers? How many times have you had to repeat how important it is to learn grappling? And did repeating it actually convince those people? Well, I don't coach like that. I don't teach like that. I don't do the same thing over and over and over again. I don't try to convince anybody that grappling is important. Just yesterday, I was doing a group mixed martial arts class, and a couple of young ladies came to the class for the first time. I don't know what they were expecting, but it was not the experience they were having. I think they were expecting like a boxing or a kickboxing class, or maybe a fitness boxing class or something like that. And when they saw that we started to do some grappling techniques, they kind of freaked out and they were like, ew, yuck, that's not what we're here for. And they were like, yeah, sorry, this isn't our thing, we're going to go. And I said, all right, cool, thanks for showing up. Come back if you ever change your mind, bye. And I didn't stress out over it because I realized it wasn't their thing. I didn't need to convince them. So that's not what they were looking for. Now, would it be nice to have more people in the class, more ladies in the class who are willing to grapple? Yes, it absolutely would, but I'm not going to try to force anyone to do things that they don't want to do, man. So that's not my job to repeat this message over and over and again about how important grappling is. I teach through pragmatic means, through demonstration. I don't talk people to death, I show them to death. People figure out pretty quickly how important grappling is when you out-grapple them. How often have I had this experience where somebody who doesn't know how to grapple comes into the gym and they want to spar with me? I'm like, all right, let's spar. And then they find out what a takedown feels like and what being strangled feels like for the first time in their lives. And they're like, holy crap, that happened so quickly. I've been training martial arts for 15 years and I don't know anything about this. And you just made me look like an absolute amateur because you know how to grapple and I don't. I didn't have to say anything. Like nothing. They get the message right away. And sometimes that clicks in a very positive way and they're like, I need to learn this. I'm signing up for the class. And sometimes it's like, I'm angry and resentful that I feel foolish and unskilled now after, because the sunk cost fallacy kicks in for a lot of people. And they want to feel validated for their 15 years of Krav Makido that they took back in the day. But yeah, I don't have to repeat the same thing over and over. In fact, that's one of the things I love about mixed martial arts. Coaching the sport of mixed martial arts is it never gets old. It never gets old. I also coach boxing classes and kickboxing classes and submission grappling classes as well, and that can get old. If that's all I do, that can get very old. I mean, I love all these things. I love taking some time out of just training for the sport of mixed martial arts to specialize in these other combat sports. I love that. I also coach boxers. I've coached amateur and professional boxers, kickboxers, K1 fighters, Muay Thai fighters, Sanda fighters, etc. And it's a lot of fun. But if I just invest into that one thing forever and ever, amen, man, it gets boring. And that gets repetitive. The great thing about mixed martial arts is it allows me to mix it up. It allows me to not get bored, to essentially rotate through different skill sets and levels and stages of combat. And that keeps it fresh every time, man. So if you are getting bored with teaching your martial arts or practicing your martial arts, there's a problem there. There's more than one way to fix it. Maybe it's the way that you are training. There are a lot of great martial arts, a lot of great combat sports that are taught terribly. Take, for example, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. It's a great martial art. It's fantastic. I love it. But a great deal of Brazilian Jiu-jitsu classes are taught stupidly. They really are. Think about this. Have you ever gone to a BJJ class like this? I bet at least 80% of you go to a BJJ class like this right now. And it's probably a great gym, and you probably have a fantastic coach who's very knowledgeable and very capable, and you probably have some very good teammates, but the class is probably taught suboptimally. Okay, it goes something like this. You do a warm-up for a while, maybe a shrimp across the mat, maybe you do some calisthenics, something like that, for a few minutes. And then the coach is like, all right, guys, here's a technique. We're going to do this, here's a deep half-guard sweep, and here's a variation of the deep half-guard sweep. All right, let's practice that. 1, 2, 3, boom, everybody clap, and then you go and you rep out the technique. You drill it, you rep it out. I shouldn't even say drill because I use the word drill differently. When I say drill, I mean it's more like situational sparring, if you will. But you rep out the technique for like 20, 30 minutes, something like that. And then he's like, all right, sparring time, boom, and then you just roll. You spend the rest of the class rolling or sparring. And what's wrong with that? Well, let's go back to that deep half-guard technique you were learning. You learned a deep half-guard sweep, right? And maybe you learned a secondary technique like you can transition to a knee bar or something like that. Okay, then it comes time to spar or to roll, whatever you want to call that. How many times in that sparring session, in that 30 to 60 minutes of rolling, however much you do in your gym, how many opportunities do you have to get into that deep half guard and attempt that technique? Especially if that's the first time you've ever done anything from deep half guard. Probably 0. Or if you're a more experienced grappler, maybe you can force yourself into that position with a white belt and get a couple of reps. Maybe you'll get 1, 2, 3 attempts at it. If you're a higher belt rolling with a white belt, you'll get a few attempts at it. Okay, how many reps, live reps against a resisting opponent do you need to get good at a technique? I would say a lot. You need a lot of reps, and you need those reps spread out over the course of many days because you got to sleep on it. When you sleep on it, you improve in your sleep. But what happens? You got 0 to 3 reps, And probably the first 100 times you try this new thing, it's going to fail. You're going to suck at it. You won't know how to do it when push comes to shove. And then the next day, it's like, all right, now we're going to do a guard pass. And you're still thinking, I've still never succeeded in doing that deep half guard sweep or that knee bar transition. And now we're going on to a guard pass. I mean, this is good information. I need to know that. I need a guard pass, right? And so the deep half guard is just gone. It's a vestigial memory at best. And then you're on to guard passing. And so the same thing happens. You rep out the guard pass a bunch of times against a cooperative training partner. And then, time to roll, guys, let's go. So you get with your partner and you try the guard pass. And maybe you get a few more reps because you might actually start in the guard. People tend to pull guard a lot, but it doesn't quite work. Maybe you get 5, 6 attempts at this guard pass, and every time it doesn't work. So you just resort to what you're good at because you're sick of losing in these roles. You don't want to tap out to this smug little jerk over in the corner who keeps tapping you out with more of a neck crank than a real choke, right? Or, oh, that dude who's so strong, he outmuscles you, even though he's really out-techniquing you, but you don't want to admit to it because you have a higher belt rank, so you must protect your precious little ego. Admit it. You've been there. You've been there. So then what happens? Maybe you get a gross facsimile of something vaguely resembling the guard pass that you were supposed to be learning in class maybe once, but it didn't really work the way it was supposed to. And then the next day, we're not guard passing anymore. Maybe we're learning a takedown the next day. What about the guard pass? What about the deep half guard thing? You're not going to see those again for 6 months. Maybe not ever again, because the coach, maybe he's going to be watching some flippy-dippy Instagram videos thinking, I'm going to teach that thing today. Yeah, let's go. I don't know. Hard to say where coaches get their ideas for teaching from. It's a flawed game plan for teaching. It's a flawed pedagogical method. Heavily flawed. Here's something infinitely better. If you at least add positional sparring or positional rolling or positional drills after the sequences, right? Warm up or don't, I don't care. There's some warm-ups I like to do, especially gymnastic movement, tumbling. That's great stuff. I like that because it increases physical attributes. That's beside the point. Do your warm-up or don't. Learn a new technique, rep it out with a non-resisting partner exactly the same way as most of you already do in your jiu-jitsu classes. Then what do? Do some positional drills. Let's say we're practicing that deep half guard sweep. Okay, start in the deep half guard. And then have the guy on top just try not to get swept while the guy on the bottom tries to sweep him. Okay, do that a few times. And then take it back a step. Okay, or put it forward a step. If it's difficult, if it's too easy for the guy on the top to pass the guard, then put it forward a step, right? Get the guy on the bottom just a little bit closer, one step closer to finishing the sweep. And then have the guy on top fight back. Make it a little easier. Use the principle of progressive overload that every strength athlete is familiar with. Start with the little weights, then get the bigger, heavier weights, then get the bigger ones when you get stronger over time. Same thing with skill acquisition in any other art. Martial arts especially. And then what? Then you dial it forward, right? You make it a little bit harder and a little bit harder until you can eventually do it in a live roll. Because if you just go from sequencing to live rolling, you will probably never hit the position in the sequence, or at least not enough to get good at it. Because you need hundreds of experiences, live experiences to get good at a skill. You do. And without that, you won't succeed. If you just add that much, there are other things you can do, but if you just add that much, that is game-changing. Absolutely game-changing. I forgot what the question was about. PWN Sensei says, okay, yeah, he wants to know, how do I have the patience to repeat the same things over and over again? I don't. Keep it fresh. Keep it new. If it's not working, scrap it. This is another problem. A lot of people, use these failed models of teaching, but they just keep doing them out of tradition. Well, it's what my sensei did, so I'm going to do it. Or it's the way I've been doing it for 20 years, so I'm just going to keep doing it this way. Well, okay. Have you produced any champions in any organizations? Any world champions? Any local champions? I mean, any amateur or professional champions? Do your athletes win fights or grappling competitions? Or boxing matches? Or whatever sport they compete in? Like, at all? Are your athletes losing most of their competitions? If so, why? Are they even competing? If they're not competing, maybe you should think about changing that. Competition is huge, man. It is huge in inducing improvement. We absolutely need it. So if you're not competing, or your guys that you're training are competing, consider changing that. If they're not winning, you're not doing something right, man. That sounds like it should be obvious, right? If your guys keep losing, you're doing something wrong. And yet, not everybody's honest about that. We all want to think we're doing everything right, and that teaching our guys the same way Sensei taught us is the right way, in spite of the fact that our athletes keep losing, or they're not winning, or they're struggling. Right? If that's the case, you need to change. And the same static methods that haven't worked are never going to work. Last night I taught a boxing class, and it was probably the best boxing class I have taught in a very long time. Best boxing class I've taught all year long. And it's funny you ask, like, does it get exhausting explaining to people? I didn't explain a thing. Everyone in my class was a native Chinese speaker. Nobody spoke English. My Chinese sucks. I can say rudimentary things. I didn't need to say anything. It was all show, no tell. Best boxing class ever. This is one of the great things about physical culture, is that it's nice to be able to give verbal cues. It's nicer to be able to give visual, tactile cues. For example, how to generate power by pulling one shoulder back and forcing the other one forward. You don't need to say anything. Just little hands-on demonstration. One hand on this shoulder, one hand on this shoulder. Boom. Do that. There you go. Put your foot here. Step here. Move there. Get off the line. Right? These aren't complex concepts that we need to talk to death. Show them. There's a great YouTube channel. I forgot the name. That's about boxing. A couple of young guys. I think they're brothers. I wish I could remember their name, because I would strongly recommend, if you love the sport of boxing, check out this channel. They never talk. There's no talking. There's no monologuing at all. They just demonstrate the technique. Sometimes there's some music playing in the background. There's no subtitles. They just show the technique. That's it. It's great. It's awesome. Right? One of my favorite wrestling channels, Kerry Colat. He talks, but he doesn't talk a lot. The first thing in his videos, he shows the technique. He shows the technique from 3 or 4 or 5 different angles. Then he'll talk a little bit as he talks you through the technique. This might happen. Your opponent might try to defend the technique this way, so do this instead. They're not complex concepts. You don't have to talk it to death. Show, don't tell. Pictures are worth so many words. Actions are worth so many more. The truth is of infinite worth right there, my friend. Thanks for the question. If you have questions for the next edition of Q&A with the Coach, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.